So KSI, the man, the myth, the fat neek, has done his first draft for the new FPL season, so today we're going to be reacting to it. I'd be amazed if you don't know who he is, but he's the biggest YouTuber in the UK. And apparently he's taken FPL really seriously this year, so let's get into it. So at first glance, it looks quite similar to one of my first drafts actually. So he's going with a 3-4-3 formation for game week 1, which seems to be a popular choice this year, with the attacking changes to the bonus point system. But let's first look at his goalkeepers in defence. So no surprise, he's gone with Raya in net. If you don't know already, KSI is an Arsenal fan, and actually has his own box, so JJ, if you're watching this, then where's my invite? Anyway, a nice choice there with Arsenal having the best defence last season, and if you're wanting to go for a keeper above the 4.5 million options, then I'd say Raya is the best option. But obviously you're losing $1 million for elsewhere in your team, so just something to think about there. He's got Fabianski as the 4 million keeper on his bench. I don't think we really need to speak about him, as I don't think there's any £4 million keepers that are actually in any starting 11s, so everyone's just picking randomly at the minute. So yeah, no issues there. He's got a back three of Byrne, Gvardiol and Mykolenko, which is actually the exact back line I had in my draft for the past week. But I've recently changed it, so there's a spoiler to watch out for an upcoming video where I share my most recent draft. Byrne has really high ownership and is at 29.3% owned at the time of recording this, which is kind of crazy for someone we don't know if he's actually going to be starting or where he'll be starting anyway. Obviously, it's the first 2 game weeks that are advertising getting Byrne in, but obviously after that the run of fixtures isn't great, and I don't see many clean sheets in there for Newcastle. He's obviously been paired with another 4.5 million defender in Mykolenko, which I think is a good shout, and with some great fixtures to start the season, especially after the first 4, and in a solid Everton defence. The only thing to keep an eye out on with Mykolenko is the transfer market, as there's been some rumours floating about him leaving. With those two paired together and not having much backup, with only 2 4 million defenders on the bench, you'd have to make sure they didn't both have a difficult fixture at the same time, as otherwise your defence is looking very weak. I actually watched a video this week, I think it was FPL Harry, and he went through all the defensive options and looked in depth at the rotations between players. So I'd recommend going and watching that video and seeing which pair-up you like the most. Gvardiol I've already spoken about in a recent video, but I think he's a fantastic option. Has actually been in my team since day 1. I think he's the best defensive option there is. I've already said about the 2 4 million defenders on the bench, but these are Greaves and Cresswell. Now, I'm quite unsure on these picks, to be honest. I prefer the Greaves pick, actually, as he's a good signing for Ipswich, so after the first 2 game weeks when their fixture run gets slightly easier, he may help to shore up that defence. But even in the Championship last season, although Ipswich were fantastic overall, they did concede a lot of goals. So I'd still worry that their defence is not a good option, at least to start the season. And the Cresswell pick I just don't like at all, really. I think there's not many better picks at 4 million, but also I'd really try and find an extra 0.5 to get up to another 4.5 million defender and have some backup on the bench. I will also just say that I'm surprised not to see another Arsenal asset in there, like Gabriel or Saliba, but to me that just proves how seriously JJ has taken FPL this season. Moving on to the midfield, he's gone for a Liverpool double-up of Mo Salah and Szoboszlai, which makes sense seeing as though Liverpool have the best run of fixtures at the start of the season. Mo Salah needs no explanation apart from we're unsure of how he'll play under Slot, but with how consistent he is and again with the fixture run they have, it should be a really good choice. And then Szoboszlai is an interesting one, and a player I've got my eye on too. He's now up to 2% ownership, so increasing in popularity. And with the idea that he may be playing a more advanced role for Liverpool this season, he could be a great shout at just 6.5 million. Again, with the fixture run, it could be a good differential, and with so many good options at 6.5 million, there's always the opportunity to then move him on to a different one after the first set of fixtures. Szoboszlai actually did score in Liverpool's 1-0 win in pre-season, so it shows that he's already starting to take up that more attacking role. Alongside him at 6.5 million, he's got Bailey and Nkunku both in the team. And I quite like these as well. Nkunku is in my team at the minute. He's been performing well in pre-season so far and hasn't picked up an injury yet, touch wood. And he's a great budget enabler, being 4 million less than Palmer, who will no doubt be one of the most popular choices after last season. Bailey's a difficult one for me. I can see why he's so popular among FPL managers for the start of the season, but I have already had a debate about him and Rodgers in a previous video, and I think for the money, I do prefer Rodgers at 5 million. But I also think there's some better options at 6.5 million, the likes of Kudus, Johnson, Gibbs-White. And he's also got Hudson-Odoi on his bench, which is a player I really like for the start of the season and is also in my current draft. The only thing I would say is that then overall your midfield, you've got 3 6.5 midfielders and a 5.5, so not only are you missing all the premium midfielders like Palmer, Foden, Son, KDB, and the one I'm most surprised as an Arsenal fan, Saka, you're missing Saka as well. But you're also missing the likes of Gordon, Eze, even Odegaard and Bruno Fernandes. Like, that's a lot of players that have the opportunity to damage your rank. So it might be worth trying to find an extra 0.5 or 1 million somewhere to get to those kind of players. And just in terms of general team selection, I'd say for at least game week 1, like, you've got to start Hudson-Odoi over either Bailey or Nkunku, because the whole point of having Hudson-Odoi in your team is to target those first 2 fixtures of Bournemouth and Southampton. So why would you start Bailey against West Ham or Nkunku against City ahead of him? Okay, anyway, moving on to the attackers. He's gone for Wood, Isak and Haaland, and I have no issue with this at all. If I was playing with this formation and I had 3 attackers, these are the exact 3 players I'd have in my team too. Haaland is obviously the player being debated by everyone whether he's worth the 15 million, but people don't call him the robot for nothing. Like, his ceiling and potential to get hat-tricks is just like no other. So, yeah, completely agree on the Haaland choice. Isak, I think, will be the most popular and highly owned player in the game come the deadline. I think Wilson is injured for Newcastle. I think he picked up an injury last week, which means Isak's minutes will be great and the fixtures are fantastic in terms of attacking potential. So yeah, I can't understand why anyone wouldn't have him in their teams. He's actually a captaincy option for game week 1 too. Last up is Wood, who makes up a Forest double up with Hudson-Odoi, but honestly I don't mind it either. With the fixtures they have, again, he's at a price where there are other players like Muniz, who, if they start well, it's still an easy transfer over. Wood's also had a decent start to pre-season, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is the exact template of attackers we see in just less than 3 weeks' time. Right, so that's JJ's team. I'm actually quite impressed. I don't think it's perfect, but it's pretty good. He's definitely got a chance of winning his mini-leagues, that's for sure, if he stays up to date with it. And there's no surprise that there's no Tottenham in there, because what do we think of Tottenham? Let me know what you guys think of KSI's first draft for the new FPL season in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.
What do we think of Tottenham? What do you think of shit? Thank you! What do you think of Tottenham? What do you think of shit?